let's talk about something you might not want to hear. You've been doing it wrong. All of it. That whole formula you learned for manifesting, asking the universe, waiting for signs, begging for movement, it was never designed to actually work. And it's not that reality is ignoring you. It's that you've been speaking a language it doesn't recognize. But what if there was a way to stop asking and start commanding? Not from a place of lack, but from a place of pure, undeniable connection. There is. It's called the monad call. And it works because it doesn't request change, it resonates from the very source of creation itself. First, you need to understand what you're actually connecting to. The monad isn't a far-off god or a distant force. It's the unified field behind everything, the silent space where nothing is separate and everything is already whole. Every true impulse, every genuine desire, originates there first, before your mind even grabs onto it. Your awareness is always interacting with this field, even when you're completely distracted. Most people only stumble into it by accident in their most powerful moments, a sudden wave of certainty, a flash of profound peace, and then lose it because they don't know how they got there. The monad call is simply the way to go there deliberately. But to get there, you have to see what's been in your way. And it's not some shadow monster in another dimension. It's far closer and far more personal. Think of the Archons not as external beings, but as the internal distortions that pull you away from that unified field. They are the fear that tightens your chest when you dream big. The urgency that screams that you must figure everything out right now. The doubt that clouds your clarity, and the mental noise that scatters your focus. These patterns don't attack you, they work from within, bending your awareness until you forget where your real power actually sits. They keep you fragmented. Every time you spiral into overthinking, or seek answers outside yourself because you don't trust your own gut, that's their pull. They don't block your manifestations, they distort the signal before it even leaves you. People think their dreams aren't coming because the universe is slow. Usually, it's because the intention is just muddy. Chaos isn't your enemy, it's the echo of a mind that forgot its center. And these distorted patterns feed on that chaos. They want you reactive, overstimulated, constantly chasing something you feel is missing. Because scattered awareness cannot align with the monad. When you're disconnected, your desires lose their magnetism. But the moment you recognize these patterns for what they are, just distortions, not truth, you step outside their influence. You see that nothing ever stood between you and creation except the noise you mistook for your own voice. So, how do you actually make the call? It's not a mystical event that happens to you. It's a shift you perform. It becomes effortless once you realize you can't connect to the monad while you're tangled in the very illusions that distort your energy. If it helps to approach it in steps, here's the hidden structure, though the experience itself is seamless. You start by catching the illusion. Deliberately notice the fear, the urgency, or the doubt that's trying to pull you into fragments. Just name it. There's the urgency. There's the old doubt. Calling it out is what cracks the doorway open. From there, you drop into certainty. Shift into the state you would naturally embody if what you desire was already yours. How would you breathe? How would you carry yourself? How would you think? Align your energy with that version of you as if it has already happened. Don't pretend. Remember. Once that state settles, ease into the stillness. This is that quiet, inner steadiness where you're not chasing the result or forcing anything into place. This stillness is crucial. It's what allows the unified field to register a clean, undistorted signal, a signal built on knowing, not needing. Then, you move into detachment. This doesn't mean abandoning your desire. It means releasing the desperate pressure around it. You hold the energy of completion without gripping it. You let it exist as something real, rather than something you're anxiously trying to reach. Now, here's what nobody tells you. The moment you try this, something predictable will happen. Every time you get close to real alignment, not the fake calm you force, but true inner coherence, your mind will get louder. Thoughts you hadn't noticed all day will rush in. You'll feel restless, distracted, doubtful. It will feel personal, like something inside is sabotaging you right at the threshold of clarity. This is not a coincidence. This is the resistance mechanism in full force. Those internal distortions flare up because you're getting close to breaking their influence. The monad is coherence. The archons are fragmentation. Of course, they resist the moment you step out of their territory. This is why people feel anxious right before a breakthrough, or get tired when they sit to meditate. The resistance is not proof you're failing. It's proof you're touching the right frequency. The noise that shows up is actually the doorway revealing itself. When you recognize this pattern, everything changes. Instead of fighting it, you understand. Your mind is rattling because it feels you leaving its old architecture. And the moment you stop taking that noise personally, the doorway swings wide open. There's a common trap here, though. People think they've reached alignment because they stopped the loud begging. But often, they've just traded screaming for whispering. They're still waiting for signs, checking timelines, monitoring the universe like it might forget them. That's not alignment. That's survival mode wearing spiritual clothing. Here's the hard truth. If you're still checking to see if it's working, it's not the monad call. The real call doesn't leave inner tightness behind. It doesn't create a countdown in your mind. When you enter the field, the desire no longer feels distant. There's no subtle hoping. Everything becomes incredibly still, a stillness that feels full, not empty. This is where many realize they haven't been still, they've just been quietly begging. And that realization? That's what breaks the pattern. You don't have to guess if the monad call is working. The effects are subtle but unmistakable. You'll feel old internal structures loosening. Patterns you thought were permanent begin to dissolve without a fight. Things that used to trigger you suddenly feel irrelevant. Then come the echoes, the synchronicities. Repeating signs, aligned timing, strange coincidences that trace your steps. People show up at the right moment. Opportunities appear without effort. Your days start feeling arranged, not chaotic. These aren't random. They're reflections of your inner field adjusting your outer world to match your coherence. You'll also feel a new emotional neutrality. Not apathy, but spaciousness. You stop obsessively refreshing the timeline of your life. You stop gripping the outcome because, deep down, you don't feel like you're missing anything anymore. It's the absence of desperation. These are the evidences that the field is stabilizing within you, rearranging what no longer fits. Beware of spiritual urgency, it's one of the most deceptive traps. It feels like devotion, like you're committed to evolving faster. But underneath is a distortion convincing you're running out of time. The moment you feel you must manifest, heal, or ascend now, you've left the monad's frequency. Urgency collapses awareness into fear, and fear fractures the field. The inner field works in stillness. Not laziness, but a stillness where your energy isn't being dragged forward by panic. Stillness is where clarity forms. Stillness is where resonance becomes magnetic. Human awareness operates in two modes. The fragmented identity is reactive, pulled by thoughts and triggers, with attention leaking outward into noise. Life feels like it's happening to you. The unified identity is anchored in presence. You're centered, observing, responding. Life feels navigable, like something you collaborate with. The fragmented self cannot reach the monad, it sends a turbulent, scattered signal. The unified self is the signal. This is why some people manifest effortlessly at certain times and struggle at others. It's not luck. It's the mode they were in. There's a moment that happens right before the shift. People call it a second awakening. It's quiet. You simply realize you're not thinking the same way anymore. You start seeing your fears, doubts, and urges from the outside. You see the illusion, and that seeing loosens its grip. The first awakening is realizing the world isn't what you thought. The second is realizing you aren't what you thought. And once you're there, you're standing at the threshold. The monad call becomes possible not because you've mastered something, but because you've stepped out of the fog. When the call begins to work, the first change isn't in your external life, it's in your perception. Situations that felt heavy lose their weight. You stop fighting the world and notice it shifting to meet you. Things start unfolding without your forcing. Conversations flow. Resistance melts. This happens because you've stopped sending fragmented, fear-soaked signals, so life no longer has to mirror that fragmentation back. Fear becomes irrelevant not because you conquered it, but because it stops making sense. You see through it. Awareness dissolves distortion on contact. This is why the universe seems to reward this state. It's not a reward, it's resonance. When you stop unconsciously resisting life, life stops resisting you. Timing becomes uncanny. Decisions feel obvious. You realize reality wasn't blocking you, you were operating from a fogged state of mind. The monad call clears the fog not by adding more thoughts, but by removing the distortions that made clarity impossible. Most people spend their lives begging for crumbs, not realizing they are the oven that bakes their entire reality. Asking comes from the ego, from the belief that you are separate from the source and must negotiate with it. The monad call comes from essence, from the part of you that knows it is inseparable from the field that shapes everything. Begging signals separation. Embodying signals unity. When you shift from asking to being, your entire energetic posture changes. You stop reaching outward and start emanating inward coherence. You begin to draw outcomes in, not chase them. You live from the frequency where the desire is already integrated. When you stand in that truth, asking becomes unnecessary. Embodying becomes natural. Your reality stops being a negotiation and starts being a reflection of who you've remembered yourself to be. This is what frees you, not receiving more, but realizing you never had to ask for it in the first place. When you stop asking, you stop waiting. You're no longer holding your life hostage to external permission slips. And that's when everything accelerates. Because the universe doesn't move on command. It moves on coherence. And when your inner field becomes steady, clean, and clear, it has no choice but to match you.